everybody, and welcome to the Human Echoes podcast. The show... What?
I was about to say I'm Tony Southcott. Like, I forgot that we'd been doing intros for 8 months.
I'm tempted to leave that in, Tony. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Human Echoes podcast, the show where we review oddball movies, have oddball discussions, and occasionally take questions from you, the oddball fans.
I'm Tony Southcott.
I'm Albert Berg, and the oddball movie that we are... Tony, you threw me off at that opening.
The oddball movie we're talking about today is on Amazon right now. It's a VOD thing. It's called The Monster.
Yes, and The Monster is the story of a girl and her extremely dysfunctional mother who are stranded by a car crash in the middle of the woods where something dangerous starts to try to attack them and the things around them.
And it's very rainy.
It's super rainy. It's super dark. It's... I texted you this before, and I'm gonna say this for everybody. This... granted, we're at the end of the year here, so I can't remember everything that I've experienced through the year. It's been 365 days, quite a few movies that we've seen, some movies that I've seen that weren't related to the podcast, but this might be the movie that annoyed me the most of any movie I've seen this year.
Was that just because of Act 3, or was it the whole movie?
It was the whole movie. I mean, at the beginning, it seems kind of promising. I don't want to... While I say it annoyed me more than any other movie, it's definitely not the worst movie I've seen this year. Because I saw Inferno, and I saw Assassin's Creed. I saw a lot of bad movies. But this one just... It got under my skin because it thought it was... Again, this is just my opinion. This has like a 70% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, so I'm the minority here, but this movie thinks it's way smarter than it actually is.
Yeah, and I definitely picked up on that. I probably am not annoyed as much as you are, but I'm not that far from it as well.
Here's where I'm coming from, okay? I talked about at the beginning, it's a story about this girl and her mother and how messed up their relationship is. The mom is terrible, like the worst person, okay?
Well, you don't have shouting matches with your mom like that?
No, I do not. Especially not like as the norm, as it appears that these two, like, not just the shouting matches. She's like, the girl is taking care of the mom, essentially. She's like dealing with the mom's abusive boyfriends or possibly her father. I couldn't tell exactly what was
like they were
there.
going to her father and her grandma and everything. This was an abusive boyfriend, or at least a scumbag boyfriend. They didn't like show any explicit abuse. He was just gone in the morning.
So they establish all of that through the whole movie. They keep cutting to, man, their life sure sucks together. Man, this mom sure doesn't know what she's doing. And then like there's like this other movie that's about a monster that has nothing to do with that. Just because you cut those two stories together doesn't make them related in any way.
But they're trying to say that she's the monster.
Oh, wow, Tony. Now it's been opened up to me. I never realized that. Maybe alcoholism was the real monster the whole time, except it wasn't, because there's an actual monster.
Yeah.
There's an actual monster that attacks people. I kept thinking through this whole film, I kept asking myself the question, how would the monster attack portions be different if these two people were replaced with any other two people? Like anybody else. Like Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton could be in that car, and that part of the movie would have been exactly the same.
Yeah, pretty much. It definitely didn't play onto each other, except for the fact that it was trying to give the mom, like, her redeeming story.
Yeah, but she's so, like... That's the other part that I had a problem with. They make the mom literally the worst person in the world. Not literally, I mean, she's terrible. She's really terrible. And I'm here to tell you, writers, just because you make someone a douchebag doesn't mean you've created a three-dimensional character. They still have the one dimension, it's just bad.
Yeah.
It's just a bad dimension.
Well, I felt like she was verging on having more dimensions. Like, you could actually see her trying to struggle with some of this stuff, trying to do better. She just had no context on how she was going to actually do that.
I guess, and I understand, like, there's something interesting in this relationship. I'm not trying to I thought that there was a really interesting direction this could have gone, but this was not what I wanted. If you have a movie, the movie that I would contrast this with is The Babadook,
That's what
right?
I was
Where,
just about to say. Like, you can see
yes,
this theme played much better in the Babadook.
where the monster in The Babadook is a real monster. You guys can argue, like, I didn't really think it was real. It's a real monster, okay? But it is still within the story a metaphorical manifestation of her mental problems, okay? There's nothing about this monster that says alcoholism or like a weird abusive mother-daughter relationship. You can't just say they're facing monsters in their life sort of generically and also here's a real monster that's attacking them. The monster needs to tie in somehow thematically.
And with the monster itself, like, it's straight up just kind of like a gorilla werewolf thing. So
It's kind of leathery skin, like you can't
Yeah.
really see it that well. Another major problem I have with this is that they play out this movie as if they're gonna Jaws it, like, oh, maybe you're not gonna see the monster, or maybe you'll like only see it once, like at the very end, and it's gonna be something really creepy or whatever. But then after stringing you along for however long, and it's just stringing you along, it's not like there's a lot of tension going on. They're just sitting in the car waiting for something to happen.
yeah, a lot of yelling at people outside the car.
Yes. And then the monster just shows up and he's like, here I am. I mean, you can't, like, he's still in the darkness and the rain, and so it's not like full frame where you see him, but he's not obscured really.
Yeah.
You just see him and he's like, all right, well, now there's a monster in the movie. And he's attacking people. And even then, I never felt really any tension. They have it like in theory in the story where they're like, well, what if we go out? The monster could attack us. But I never felt like I was up on that high wire of, oh guys, watch out, the monster's gonna get you. It's just sort of like, it's gonna show up eventually, about bash through the windows or something.
Yeah, and they had moments where that could have actually happened. Like, they've got the tow truck driver working under the car. And instead of showing like something approaching, instead of doing anything where like he might get pulled away in a dramatic fashion, like he's just gone all of a sudden and they're trying to figure out what happened. Like, you could have played that up and just had like the thing stalking him for a good long while and you just know that guy is screwed.
People compared this to like 80s monster movies, but it's, I mean, other than the cool special effect, which I'm going to say, like the practical monster suit, I thought it did look really cool. Like, it's a cool design for a monster. You can, if you want to know what it looks like, you can look at the DVD cover. They essentially show you the face. It kind of like gets weird, but
yeah, this is a cool poster too. Like, this movie definitely has that going for it.
Yeah, it just, I was so hopeful for this. Having seen the trailers and thought, this looks cool, this looks tense. There was almost no tension. And on top of that, the characters I felt had almost no agency. There's so much of this movie spent waiting around for somebody else to get there, or something to happen, or yelling at somebody else to do something. The mom yelling at the daughter, like, you go and get the phone. Which is just, like, even then, you're like, okay, this is her redemption story. Like, you're taking a really long time to show her being redeemed because she's still being a terrible person, sending her daughter out into the rain to get the stupid cell phone to call the dad for really no reason.
And one of the only times that they do have agency, it's the character making a really, 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 really dumb mistake.
Yep.
And thus negating blah, 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 spoiler, spoiler, spoiler.
Yes, it's not important to get into specifics, but it feels like an and then type of a story. And then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And there's never like because they did this, then this. Not even in a metaphorical sense. You never get the sense that, well, the mom was drinking or she was a terrible mom. And if she had been there for her daughter, like, they wouldn't have been in this situation. That she's actually, like, in the process earlier in the movie of kind of coming to terms with how terrible she is. And she gives the daughter the watch and sort of like, they have a moment there and you think, oh, that's kind of cool. But then it gets taken back later on. It's a mess of like not saying anything really.
Yeah. And this is the writer's third movie, so he doesn't have a ton of experience, but it seems like you could have probably spec'd out a few things and just figured out how to make it more suspenseful. He's also the director. He did the movie The Strangers, which I've always heard very good things about, but I have not seen it yet.
He also produced with Oz Perkins, the director, The Black Coat's Daughter. Oz Perkins, of course, went on to direct I'm the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, which is another, not as disappointing, I would say, but still kind of muddled and not really sure what it wants to say kind of movie. It's... And here's the thing. I've been complaining, right? Basically nonstop since the start of the podcast. This isn't a badly made movie. It's not like you don't sit there hating it. You know, the actors are doing a good job. Visually, it looks not stunning, but pretty good.
It's got the A24 aesthetic, the like deep shadows, like all more than what you can usually do with a car on a road in the dark.
Yeah, although they are parked. Supposedly they're out like way out in the wilderness where it takes a long time for people to get to them.
Yeah, it's like 40 minutes from anything, but there's street lights everywhere.
There's street lights everywhere. I don't know why. Okay, don't ask me.
Dramatic lighting.
Apparently, the infrastructure of America is in far better shape than we've been led to believe.
Well, it's a parallel world with great infrastructure and monsters.
That's just like as a side note, like in this alternate universe, Trump didn't get elected because the infrastructure is amazing and everybody's happy.
Yeah,
and nobody's disaffected at all. Obama got a third term somehow. We don't know, but these people, like, that's not important to the story. Speaking of where this takes place, I spent a good 20 minutes of this movie thinking that it was a period piece.
Was it just because of the age of the cars or what?
Well, not just the age of the cars, the way the house is decorated, the fact that they have one of those old alarm clocks that like physically clicks over the numbers instead of a digital alarm clock. There was a lot of little details, and there was nothing that I saw, and maybe I missed something in those first 20 minutes that would have said to me, hey, these people are living in the modern day 20th century. And then all of a sudden they're just driving down the road and the girl pulls out a cell phone. And I was
See, I thought
confused.
I thought it just was that they were a rundown family. Like the mom is not that old. She's probably like pushing 30, but she's looks like...
The actress is 31.
Yeah.
And the daughter actress is 14. So do the math there within the timeline of the movie, even if you fudge a little bit. Clearly, she was not ready to be a mother.
Yeah.
If you haven't picked up on it from the cues in the movie, it's super early for her to be giving birth to a child.
Yeah, 15, 16. And it definitely felt that way, too. Like, especially whenever the movie opens and you've got the daughter literally having to drag her mom out of bed.
Well, that's the thing, too, right? It almost, like, highlights for you, okay, this girl doesn't have that much excuse because someone who's this young clearly can be, like, responsible in some way. Although maybe you could argue, the movie doesn't go here at all, but it's possible that eventually down the road the daughter's going to end up messed up and alcoholic too. But we don't, that's the problem here. We don't get, like, any of that information. We don't get, like, what was the mother like before the pregnancy? What drove her to alcoholism? Was it being an early mother? Was she an alcoholic already? Like, it's just sort of like, yeah, her life sucks. She drinks to get over it. And on top of what you were saying, like, I guess you could argue that, okay, their lives aren't that bad. This house does not look super run down. Okay, this doesn't look like, I mean, my house is messier than this. Probably right now. Okay,
my house definitely is. I've got so many dishes to do, damn it.
We're not like schlubs, you know. It's not because we're lazy. There's just a lot to do. So I still feel like I'm justified in thinking that maybe this was supposed to be a period piece. I'm not saying it was supposed to be, but that's how it came across to me just watching this and trying to pick up on the cues and think, well, okay.
I also wasn't fully convinced of just like some of the arguments they were having. It's like the girl is getting ready to go to her, to a play where she's going to be one of the lead actresses, and she's just yelling that she doesn't want her mom to be there and all this stuff. There's just no predication for it. There's nothing like set up beforehand. Like they give some other stuff, but it's just not related to the scenes.
Yeah, it's like, and I said this earlier kind of, but it's like the director wanted to make this movie about a mom and a daughter in a really dysfunctional relationship, but he knew he couldn't get the funding for that. So he like took that movie and then put in like another movie about a monster attack where he just had some generic monster attack thing happen and then said, but it's metaphorical for the monster, the demons that they face in their lives.
It's going to be like that
got around
Alfonso
that way.
Cuarón moment where like she's in the fetal position being reborn, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, except this guy's not Alfonso Cuarón.
Yeah.
And it's not, again, not terrible, but not Alfonso Cuarón.
Yeah. And also, this movie had a $2.7 million budget, so it wasn't that low of a production.
Yeah, and they did, I think, as far as budget goes, they did a good job with what they had.
Yeah.
The monster looks fine. You're shooting a lot in the rain. That can't be easy. You have animals on hand. You have,
You've got a wrecking ambulance.
Yeah. Now, granted, a lot of this, it's not quite a single location thing. Like, they're in the car for a lot of it, but it's probably less than half the movie that they're in the car. They get moved around. They get in other vehicles, things like that. But it feels like that they spent the budget well. All of my issues on this stem from like the story and what it's trying to accomplish. And I don't think it accomplishes anything. And that's so disappointing.
Yeah, because like if you look at what he was trying to do, you could definitely build a redemption story out of this. You could make it so that this movie has that sort of impact. Like, especially if you could show her like clawing at the edges of trying to be a good person and just like slipping up occasionally, or there's so many different things, but they just made like the characters outright bad. They made it so that you didn't care that much about the daughter because she was mean too. Like it was just like this cycle of abuse that was going to continue onward. And then like you just put people you don't like against a monster and you expect it to just work.
Yeah, and I think you just made a really good point there, Tony, and I want to hit that extra hard. The daughter is not necessarily a better character than the mom. She is, I would say, better like morally a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's not a ton of depth there. You're just expected to empathize with her because her life is crap. And it's not enough. I mean, it works to a certain extent. I didn't hate the character, but it's not a good character. It's just like they just give you the bare bones of like, well, look at all this stuff she's going through. Okay, I know her situation. I know what she's going through, but tell me about her. Who is she as a person? What is she into? What does she like? Anything.
Yeah, the only article we see, or the only things we get about her personality is that she likes doing some acting, or that her school made her, we don't know, and that she has a teddy bear. Like, we really don't have much information beyond that, other than she really likes to swear, and she did not listen to her parents.
Well, and there's the teddy bear thing, I think, is maybe the biggest insight you have, because it's obviously a toy for a much younger child, and she's sort of like clinging to that as a symbol of her lost innocence in a sense.
Yeah.
She's trying to stay a kid, even though she had to grow up so early. So there's I think that's maybe the most interesting thing they tell you about her, quote unquote. And
I saw,
again, it's not. What?
I saw a review that said, you've got problems when the scariest thing about your movie is a teddy bear with a musical box inside of it.
Even that could have been played up better. It could have been scarier.
Yeah.
It could have been like, what is this thing? Like, make the music creepier or something. I don't know. But maybe that's not the direction they wanted to go. But even that felt just sort of like, where is this coming from? It all felt, none of it felt grounded in anything.
And I didn't mind some of this as much as Albert did, because I've seen a lot of alcohol abuse in my life. So I can empathize a little bit more with it. My problems almost entirely stemmed with Act 3. Like, it just did not work for me, and we can't get into too many specifics on that for people who actually do want to see this movie. I'd probably give it about like 5 or 6 months before it hits Netflix, if not a little bit shorter than that.
I was going to say possibly much shorter.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3 months.
But it just did not work for me. Like, the build-up of the monster and everything, like, that, there were parts that were good with that, but just the way it finished was so unsatisfying to me.
There's that bookends thing too with the dialogue, where the movie opens and closes with the same lines of dialogue, where the daughter says, "My mom says there's says there's not monsters in the world, but she's wrong. There are." And by the time you get to the end of the movie, it's like, well, yeah, there's that giant toothy thing that you just fought off in the woods. I mean, I thought this was going to be something profound when you said it the first time. You're just setting me up to be like, and they're Bigfoot, by the way. It's not Bigfoot, but it lost a lot of sort of punch the second time because we'd seen the actual monster.
There's a Bigfoot movie I really want to see, but I haven't been able to find it on a streaming platform yet. Like, I'm sure it's probably on VOD now, but it's called Willow Creek. It's done by Bobcat Goldthwait, who did
I've heard of that.
God Bless America. He's always been a solid director, and he's a good writer. He's a very funny person, but he decided he wanted to make a very serious Bigfoot movie. And like, just listening to him talk about it on Rogan's podcast, like, it sounded like it would be so much fun to see.
We might hunt that down for something in the next year, Tony.
There's,
I would like to see that also.
Yeah.
That's not for next week's movie. We already decided on that. We'll tell you about that at the end of the podcast. But that is something I think is worth seeking out. I don't know that I have anything much else to say about the monster. You're welcome to disregard my opinion, especially if you're a fan of creature effects and you want to see, if you want to support the idea of, well, no CG, we want to have people in suits. Has a guy in a suit monster, and it looks pretty good. It's kind of a cool throwback. Definitely want to, give the movie that. And atmospherically, it's fine, but I don't think it really works as a story. It might work as a monster movie if you're just going to see the monster, because they don't hide it from you too much.
Yeah, they give you some quick angles for a while, and then you just see like everything kind of open up.
Yeah, it disappointed me. I've already said that. I know, but I can't really recommend this much to anybody. And I'm not the prevailing opinion. Apparently, Rotten Tomatoes critics love this thing, or at least liked it enough to rate it positive. But I thought that, despite the aesthetics and the look, here's the thing, okay? Just because it makes you feel bad doesn't make it art. All right? This movie confuses, I think, and maybe a lot of people confuse, like, well, I felt bad after I watched it. There's terrible people in it, so it must have been art. It was not. Okay, that's not how that works. This movie needs to learn that lesson.
I'm trying to think of the movie that made me feel the worst that was the best I've seen.
The Children of Sorrow?
Children of Sorrow is probably on that list. That's got to be like top 3.
That one made me feel pretty crappy at the time, but like, it was. I think I brought this up on Reddit one time where they were like, "What's the movie that like really just made you feel like crap?" And I was like, "Children of Sorrow." And they're like, that movie was terrible. I was like, "You're not right," but okay.
I haven't actually met anyone who has seen that movie other than us.
Well, on our horror and Reddit, there's plenty of people who have those, have seen everything. So
yeah,
or at least enough people there who would have seen something like that.
Still one of my
you're gonna get some
favorite subreddits. It's pretty well moderated. Like, there's not a lot of like hateful people over there, and they generally have they've got a lot of interesting discussion. They have like a few movies every week that they just bring up and get the community involved with. It's a pretty good subreddit.
And that's the great thing about opinions too. You can, everybody gets a different one. That's fine.
I could see why people wouldn't like Children of Sorrow, though. That's a pretty easy one to see where people just couldn't quite get into it.
Well, especially because it's got the found footage and it's sort of like very small and it feels a little bit like gratuitous in places. But I think it's more than that. I think that there's more to it than just setting up some kills. It really feels like, to me anyway, the stuff it did to me, I thought was worth the one viewing that I will ever give it, because it messed me up.
Yeah, it's not like we're looking
bad
for movies like that. I watched Martyrs the other day, and that movie kind of left me like that.
Oh, you might make me do that at some point. I don't know. You just did a 5X on that, right?
Yeah, it ended up being way too long because I was just kind of like coming to grips with that movie for a little bit. Ended up being like 15 minutes. The original plan for 5X is like 5 to 7 minutes. Quick pop, cool facts. Yeah.
Well, listen.
It's a lot more like that for Nightbreed.
That's the second episode of 5Facts. We'll hone in the model. It'll be okay. We do things and we fix them as we go.
Yeah.
Nothing is perfect.
By the time this airs, the third episode will be out too, and that one is on Nightbreed.
Oh yeah?
I think it was 1990. Just kind of fun, like a Wes Craven style horror. He actually wrote the book behind it. I can't remember who directed it. Oh, it's Cronenberg. So
Wes Craven wrote a script that David Cronenberg directed.
Clive Barker
That
wrote
sounds
it.
nuts.
Clive Barker wrote it. Excuse me.
Oh, well, never mind then. Clive Barker.
Yes.
Clive Barker.
I get those guys mixed up all the time.
You get Wes Craven and Clive Barker mixed up?
A little bit. Although it is
They're
kind of
not
interesting
really the
because
same.
Cronenberg is actually the main bad guy in this movie. So you actually get to see him doing some acting.
Okay. I haven't even heard of this one, Tony, so that sounds interesting.
Well, that's part of the reason why I did 5 Facts, because there's a lot of these movies that I've heard of that I never got to really check out. Now I get to know way more about them than I expected to.
Yeah, we're at the end of the year, and I keep thinking, next week we're going to do our top 10 list, Tony. And I keep thinking about all the movies I haven't seen. Like, I haven't seen Manchester by the Sea. I haven't seen La La Land. And that one is not, like, for lack of interest, but it's becoming a lack of interest because it seems like everybody I know of in the movie community is talking about, La La Land's so great, La La Land's so great. I'm like, I can't freaking see it. You won't put it in a theater by me. And everybody's talking about it. It's got that stupid name, and I'm just going to get annoyed and not watch it now.
The inner hipster is rising. Actually, the only way to be a hipster about it is to actually see it, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can make an opinion on a movie that you haven't seen. Like, I haven't watched Max Steel, but having seen many of the reactions, I'm fairly confident that it's probably not a great movie.
Which one is Max Steel? Is that the Hugh Jackman robot one?
No,
that's Real Steel or something like that.
Max Steel is one that came out in November of this year that was like $100 million toy spinoff movie that nobody went to see.
Oh, I saw some trailers for that. Yeah, I remember that one. I definitely had no desire to see it, but I definitely remember seeing those trailers come out. I was like, that's kind of a cool suit, but we get a lot of shows with cool suits. It's worked well for Disney.
Yeah. I have a morbid curiosity about it, especially because I had to go see Assassin's Creed for the rundown this week, and what a weird movie! What a just bizarre movie! Speaking of like character problems, nobody in that movie has any reason to ever do anything that they do in that movie. Like, except for, like, I mean, sometimes people are like, we threaten you to go into the, the Animus or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that there's no, but there's not, like, Michael Fassbender doesn't play a character. He just, like, walks around and says words and then goes back in time and fights things. And then the movie's over.
That's kind of the problem with video games. You're just playing a character that you kind of throw yourself into sometimes.
Do you think that's intentional?
I don't think it's intentional. I just think they didn't have a whole lot of actual character stuff to base. What was the guy's name? Cole? Something like that?
No, it's Callum Lynch is the character's name.
So that wasn't based off of the first movies. No, I'm thinking of Infamous.
It's not based on any particular game.
Yeah. All right.
It has Abstergo and the the Templars in it, but it's not directly in the timeline of any of the games as far as I can tell.
And as far as I can tell, the magical MacGuffin named the Apple of Eden or something like that.
Yes. Have you played the games, Tony?
I have played
the Assassin's Creed games?
The first one and a little bit of Syndicate.
So, do you know about the Apple of Eden? Do they talk about that in the first one?
That's the big reveal at the end of the first one. They're talking about the Apple of Eden as well as all these other things, but they're kind of setting them up like they're super weapons.
It seems like they say it takes away your free will, but they never explain in the movie what that means. Like, do you just sit there and drool unless somebody tells you to do something? Are they mind controlling you? Does it like enforce a particular set of laws on you? Who writes those laws? Is it like set up like a Bible type? You have to follow all the rules in the Bible, or is it
that first movie came out a long time, or that first game came out a long time ago? So I don't even remember. I more remember like the reveal where you're kind of like in that ancient world and you're getting like some weird look at possibly lost civilization or alien technology. That's all I remember.
Okay, yeah, they do sort of say like it could it's the actual apple from the Garden of Eden, or aliens made it.
Yeah,
and I thought, those are two pretty widely disparate possibilities.
Yeah. I once knew
maybe
a
you want to
guy.
pick one.
I once knew a guy who was absolutely convinced that Jesus was an alien.
Okay.
That's how he was able to
I mean, that's
heal
not the
people and
dumbest
everything.
theory I've heard. I
Yeah.
don't agree with it, but
Well, I'm
I
like,
could see well, this guy has some superpower things.
Yeah.
But maybe he came from outer space.
he came from outer space to get humans to get their shit together. Like that was his main theory. Which I mean,
mechanically, I don't disagree with any of that. As a Christian, he did come from somewhere outside of Earth and trying to come down to help people out. But I don't know that I would say alien.
Yeah, he's the type of guy that just really enjoys those types of thought experiments, though. So it's not like it's nothing negative. It's just he has like some weird ideas and he has fun going with them. It's like I don't think he actually believes in chemtrails like he says he does. I think he just likes the idea of like the giant cabal that's in control and just things like that. So he gets a little weird with stuff, but he's enjoyable to listen to about it. He's not like oppressive about it. He just runs with the ideas and gets excited.
Well, I think it is time for us to transition into Trailer Talk.
So, first movie for Trailer Talk that I want to talk about today is Alien Covenant.
I've been waiting for this trailer for a while.
I've been skeptical of this movie for so long, and like you can't tell anything about these movies from the stills. It looks like they might have learned from some of their mistakes from Prometheus and went back to the kind of original Xenomorph story. You've got the like actual face huggers. You've got all these things where it's like, once again, Michael Fassbender doing his thing. He's in everything right now. Like
he plays two characters in this.
Yeah, he plays the creator of the robot and the android itself, right?
I thought it was two robots, but
it might be two robots. I'm not sure.
I misread that.
I know that they had Bishop from the original series as the creator of the robot and then the robot of him. So I thought they might have been harkening back to that. My main worry with the movie is that they're not going to be treading any new ground here, and it's just another Xenomorph story that's very similar to the first Alien movie. And I'm somehow okay with that because I really just want to see a new Alien movie that actually lives up to the hype.
I thought that this movie looked like a really great, really basic slasher in space.
Yeah.
If the movie is what the trailer is selling, it's not revolutionary. It's not new, but it could still be great. I saw a lot of people calling it like trash and sort of lowbrow, but if they actually make a lowbrow Jason style slasher with the alien as the slasher and don't do the like hold off for forever like the first movie did, which I feel like the first movie is just too slow for me. If they like essentially do what the first movie did again, but a little bit faster, get to the alien a little bit more quickly, and just sort of throw that body horror and that, you know, in space, like alien chase horror at you in a cool way, I would be on board with that. I don't know that that's what everybody else wants, but I think that could be really cool.
Well, technically, it's a lot easier to get that alien on the screen. It looks like they're using a decent amount of puppet work. They're using a fair amount of CGI, and it's just going to be a lot easier to make that look natural than it was back in 1979. So I think we're going to get more of that. The trailer showed a lot more of the alien than you get to see for a long time in Alien 1.
Right, and they even have, I mean, going back to the sort of slasher thing, they have literally people having sex in the shower and getting killed by the alien.
Yeah. My only problem with this trailer is that it showed so much. Like, it's showing different things exploding for major plot points later. I'm also a little bit confused as to how Danny McBride is going to do in an Alien movie.
He didn't deliver... Does he deliver any dialogue in this?
But I almost didn't...
He looks fine.
Yeah, he looks fine. He looks like essentially Alien was about space truckers. And I can see him as that sort of person. But he needs to tone down a little bit of the Danny McBride-isms if it's going to work. And I think he's capable of that. Most times, whenever you've got a comedic actor, they can do pretty well in a serious role. And I wouldn't be surprised if he is there for a little bit of comic relief. But I just don't want the full this is the end Danny McBride.
Yeah, who knows? But I didn't get any like bad vibes from this trailer. Granted, they didn't show him really talking or doing anything. There wasn't a lot of dialogue from him, but I didn't feel like they were cutting around him or hiding him in any way. Maybe after we get another trailer or two and we still don't hear anything from him, I'll be like, maybe Danny McBride sucks in this movie. But I don't have that yet. It felt very atmospheric, and there was that moment on the planet, which I don't know where they're gonna go with this, but where they like step on that
The spore
mushroom
stuff,
or whatever,
yeah.
and release that spore, and it just made me think about some of the more hard sci-fi that I've read, where they talk about the sort of insane amounts of precautions you really ought to be taking when you're on a new alien planet. And I don't want to see people taking those insane amount of precautions because it's not quite Star Wars. I want it to be more grounded, and that was one of the problems I had with Prometheus, is that it felt like they just went like, we're here at the planet, we're gonna get off, we're gonna
jump
land.
out right now.
Yeah, everybody was in such a hurry to do everything in that movie, and it seemed like this doesn't feel like Alien to me. But there was something about that little swarm going in that guy's ear that just it feels like there could be some really great body horror in here. I mean, we see some of it, and just the way they're setting it up, I don't see anything that's making me worried.
And the chest burster going through the back. Like, I know that's only a small, like, just a subtle difference, but it's so graphic. Like, you just, like, the cracking noises and everything.
I think it's technically I don't think it's an alien in that case. I think that there are other organisms. There was a deacon, something they called in Prometheus, and this is probably related to that more than
like
the
the kind of weird triangle-headed thing.
Yes. Although it's been a while since I've seen Prometheus.
I actually thought about putting it back on just to watch it again, because I enjoyed the movie enough in theaters that I could give it like a 7 out of 10, and I don't want to make it worse. I feel like if I watch it again, I might drop it down to like a 5.
Okay,
but
I can see that.
As far as sci-fi movies
go,
as far as sci-fi movies go, that's like straight up my type of aesthetic, though. Like, I love the way that movie looked. I liked the idea of the engineers. I liked a lot of the stuff. It just wasn't executed quite right.
Do we know who the screenwriter is on this? Because I think that's going to make a ton of difference. I think Ridley Scott has shown that he can direct something really well if he has a good, a good story.
It says the story is by Michael Green and the screenplay is by John Logan. I'm looking up what they've worked on before.
John Logan wrote Spectre, The Last Samurai, Gladiator, and Rango.
Michael Green wrote Green Lantern. And some Heroes
he's just
episodes.
Story by.
Yeah.
He's sort of sat down. He's like, all right, so like they get to an alien planet, right? And there's an alien there. And then the alien eat people.
Man.
And there's like a sex scene in the shower. All right, go write that.
He wrote Gladiator. That definitely works for him. I liked Rango as well, so.
The thing about Gladiator is that's one of those movies where famously they were writing it as they were shooting it.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing that it turned out that well if that's how they did it, though. That's still one of my favorite
Rango's
movies.
pretty good.
Rango's
good.
It's
not great, but it's not. I wouldn't like. It's not a tarnish on his career. It's I've put that on several times and it's fine. Next up, we're gonna talk about. You introduced the Emoji Movie trailer.
I haven't seen the Emoji Movie trailer.
Oh, you didn't see the Emoji Movie trailer?
I got caught up trying to fix that. I can watch it real quick if you like.
You need to. Okay, yeah, watch that real quick.
I've never wanted to see a movie less in my entire life. Like, you could have sent me to like a Hairspray trailer, and I think I would rather have watched that than watch this trailer. That was just bad.
Okay, first of all, which version of the trailer did you get?
I got the one where like it's the official sneak peek where the meh.
No, I know that. Which aspect ratio was the trailer put in?
It was in like your cell phone ratio.
You got yes. Okay. I think that's stupid and genius at the same time. That they released a trailer vertically, that's. I mean, I don't know that the movie's not going to be like that, but the idea that they put out a portrait mode trailer for the Emoji Movie, that's sick.
Yeah, I mean that's like
in every way.
That's the first way to get downvoted on everything. Look, I'm looking at the downvotes right now. It's 6,000 likes to 48,000 dislikes.
what do you think about the fact that they essentially say, we know you hate this idea. We hate this idea too, in their own trailer? Like, what's up with that?
What if it's
The
just
guy's
like this brilliant, cynical, hateful movie? That's what I want from it.
The whole movie is like, what a stupid idea this was, right, guys? And people spend like years of their life like animating it and the voice work and writing it and everything, and it's just like, I'm sorry you're here in the theater. We'll put a little clock up on the screen so you know how much time you have left.
You know that just because we've talked about this, you're going to have to do a rundown on this movie, right?
Oh, no, I don't have to.
Like, you have forced this upon yourself. Like, the only way you could salvage this and make it so that you don't have to is if you cut this out entirely from the episode. Otherwise, Joe is going to make you do a rundown on the Emoji Movie.
It's so... I don't... Like, the thing is, I know you didn't like it. I didn't hate it. It left me... I don't understand the point, though, of a trailer that seems designed to make you feel like the titular emoji in the trailer. Like, why would you make a trailer that's like clearly like laser focused to make you go, all right. Like, I did just watch that trailer. That's for sure a thing that just happened.
Maybe they were trying to hit that like that weird little self-deprecating stroke that you get from like the robot in Hitchhiker's Guide. Maybe they thought they were being clever like that. They just don't have Alan Rickman.
Yeah, I guess. It's a weird decision for your first trailer. Like, and we've seen that a lot with animated movies lately. Me and my wife went to Rogue One yesterday. Okay, because I went back to see it. Only movie I went back to see in the theaters this year. And they played a trailer for Cars 3. We talked about this in the past. And she's watching it and she says, they made a live action Cars movie? No, it's still animated, but I can see why you would be confused, because why did they do that? Like, why would you make it? This is a similar confusing announcement trailer where you just don't know who it's for. Like, is it for the rabid emoji fan base movie? Is this movie going to do huge in Japan, do you think?
I could see it doing better in international audiences, but like whenever I went Christmas shopping this year, it seems like every store had a giant bin of emojis you could just buy for pillows.
My kids love them. Like, they got emoji banks for Christmas. They got emoji socks. I think there was emoji wrapping paper. Like, I understand the appeal of the brand as a sort of as imagery, right? Because that's what it is. It's imagery. I don't know where the story there is. It's like trying to make Super Mario Brothers into a movie, which did not work out that well. Like, it's cool to play as a game. It looks cool, but there's literally nothing there that, like, narratively is pulling me in. And even less so with emoji.
Now you're giving me flashbacks to that Mario movie, and that's just such a strange movie.
I don't even think the Emoji Movie is going to be like it's not even going to be this sort of bizarrely weird like creation. It's just going to be these faces walking around the screen for an hour and a half.
I think we need a live action version of the Emoji Movie.
All right. Walk me through this. What are you thinking?
All right. I'm thinking you get the people that made like Killer Clowns from Outer Space to design the costumes, because they did a really good job there. And basically you're going to have these just like these walking like mascot style things that just, they have to be doing something terrible to humans that we just find completely innocuous at first. Like in that movie, they were taking humans, putting them into cotton candy cocoons and sucking their blood out as they dissolve them. Like what would be the emoji equivalent of that?
I just realized, oh man, there's going to be a live action component of this movie, Tony.
Is there?
There has to be. Like, okay, it's the emojis, right? They live inside our phones. Like that's actually in the synopsis of the movie. It's about these things. They actually like live inside the phone until we need them and pull them out. They're going to go on some adventure and they're going to make it out into the real world.
It's going to
on somebody's phone. Like you're going to see somebody walking around with a phone in real life and their emojis like interacting with them or popping out of the phone or something.
Well, just imagine.
They're going to not be able to resist the Lego movie thing where they're like, they worked for the Lego movie. There was a stupid idea they did well. You know what they had? You know what they had in the Lego movie? They had live action. They had live action the Lego Movie. Let's do that.
But I'm just thinking about what this thing would look like. It looks like a lemon with legs for the emoji. Like, just imagine that, but it's just human skin. Like, just hyper realistic, giant teeth, giant eyes, giant, like, everything. Little skinny arms and legs as they're chasing after you.
I'm Googling right now, human emoji.
You're probably going to get a bunch of bad Halloween costumes, but I'm imagining this thing, like, keep it maybe like 4 foot in diameter. Just like whenever it grins, you just like see the leathery skin like peeling backwards a little bit.
I'm gonna send you an image, Tony. This will be interesting. I'll put this in the video.
Yeah, something like this, but just much bigger. Like make it so that it's got like the little stick arms and head.
Oh, so it does, like it's not even there's no even human torso. It's just like a giant version of that.
Yeah, or maybe a mix of the two. And like just the shit beast that would be like the shit emoji coming after you, or how much scarier the grapefruit and like squirting emoji would be, since that's always like hypersexual for people.
I don't do emoji stuff, so I don't know. I can't have any comments about that particular part of the conversation, but okay.
Just imagine like a giant like eggplant that's like rotted and fetid chasing after you. That's the movie I want.
No,
I want this movie.
Not.
I want like the weird like hyper stylized like couple holding hands just walking down the street with no face. Just like all of that. That's what I want from an Emoji Movie.
I want to shift gears a little bit. There's a bit of movie news I meant to talk about last week that I found out about, and we didn't have time for it. We have a little bit of time this week. I recently discovered that Woody Harrelson is going to star. Speaking of emoji, by the way, because this feels sort of related in the like technology world, he's going to star in a movie called Lost in London that will be broadcast live as he is performing it in one take.
It's an interesting style event. Like, I mean, they have that with like some movie theaters will show like plays and stuff from places. I've never heard of like just a random actor being chosen to do it.
Well, I don't think it's supposed to be a play. I think it's supposed to be set up as like a one-shot Birdman style movie, but where it's actually one shot of this guy just having a terrible day, and it's just sent out live the whole time.
It's an interesting concept. I could see that being a lot of fun. I don't know if I want to go see it live. I'll have to read up more on it, but do you think that's something you want to catch live just for the experience?
What if, okay, here is an interesting question. And this is, obviously, we're not talking about something that's going to make a ton of money, regardless, but what if it was only available live? What if it was like, you have to be there, you have to experience it, or we're not going to record it?
It's like a Snapchat. Like, you get that one chance.
Yeah, that would be weird.
I would definitely go to see that. I'd be more likely to if it's like this might never get shown again. You know, there's going to be people that like bootleg it and all that, but never have like a DVD release or anything like that. No high quality, like where you can watch it in your own home type situation.
Here's a quote from Woody Allen. I'm sorry, Woody Harrelson, not Woody Allen. Very different people. Woody Harrelson said, "No one's ever shot a movie and live broadcasted in cinemas at the same time. No one's ever been that stupid until now." Which that's a version of self-deprecation I can get behind.
Yeah, I'm still a little weirded out by him as like the main guy in the new Planet of the Apes movie.
Yeah, EW reported that the 100-minute shoot will begin at 2:00 on the 20th of January in London, simultaneously screening in the U.S. at 2100 Eastern Time and 1800 Pacific Standard Time.
So right at 7:00 my time, I can go and check it out. I think I might have to do that.
It's definitely pushing the boundaries of experimental. And it's cool to see an actor do something like this, because clearly this is not going to make him a ton of money. Maybe they're paying him a ton of money. I don't know. Maybe somebody else had the vision and they're just sort of like, "What, Mr. Hilton, get on board." But generally, an actor will get on a project like this because they're just, they're interested in the idea. And I like that Woody Harrelson was willing to hop on board of this bizarre concept. And it's cool to sort of see people stretching the medium of film. I don't want the medium of film to change that much, But on the other hand, like exploring things like this allows us to incorporate new ideas and things into the cinematic language that is established. So while I don't want this to become the norm, it's very exciting to see somebody out there doing this.
I definitely agree with that. I think it'll be interesting to see what they end up coming up with. I wonder if people are going to interfere with it, or if it's going to be on a soundstage. There's a lot of questions I have about what's going to happen.
I think that's supposed to be live, like on the streets. I believe, maybe not on the streets, but like it's supposed to happen in actual physical locations for the most part. And the great thing about that is when you're on a single take like this and it's live, you got to be on. Like if you flub your line or mess something up or whatever, it's in there now. And that's pretty brave.
Yeah,
I would say.
It's awesome whenever you can take 52 takes to get the verbiage right. But I think Woody Harrelson will probably knock it out of the park too. Like he's so good at what he does. So I'm excited.
Well, yeah, and he's one of those actors that when they're on screen, you're just like, I'm okay with this. This guy's like they're not going to fix everything, but a really great actor can have a stage presence that you just sort of like elevates your experience of the movie. That happened for me in Assassin's Creed, where Assassin's Creed, terrible story, but having Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard and Jeremy Irons on that project helped. It didn't fix, okay, it did nothing to like, it didn't make the movie a good movie, but it made it better than it would have been if it had just been unknowns. And so a big name actor like that really sort of has that confidence and has that screen presence can make a lot of difference.
Yeah. Trying to think if there's any other movie news that I've found. Like I'm looking through all these tabs and it's like, due to a legal loophole, there's a murder zone in Yellowstone National Park. That's not movie news.
Well, we are kind of in the Christmas/post-Christmas week. So there's not a ton of, Hollywood's taking their break too. There's not a ton of stuff coming out. Although the Alien Covenant trailer releasing on Christmas, I thought was an interesting choice. You kind of make that risk of getting buried, but also like maybe there's an opportunity there because everybody just waking up and, after you've opened your presents and played with your toys, what do? You get on your phone. Oh, there's a new Alien Covenant trailer. Nothing else dropping today. Might as well watch it.
Yeah, I remember waking up and just checking my computer compulsively like you do and finding that. And that was a very nice little Christmas present before I got my other presents. What was the favorite thing you got this year?
The favorite thing? That's tough. I got a lot of little stuff. I got a book that you already have. It's called Lost Gods by Brahm. And I'm about 100 pages into that. I'm going to say I don't like it as much as I liked Krampus, but it's pretty good.
Well, it's nice to get a taste of that world again.
Yes. I got some of these. Tony can't see, but these are Mixels. This guy here is called Spug. They're getting... Do you know what Mixels are, Tony?
You explained a tiny bit beforehand. I've got a vague idea.
They're little... So they're Lego creatures... They're based around a cartoon that Lego also puts out, and there are 3 in a set, and the 3 will share a similar theme. Like there was a newscaster Mixel set, there was a water-based Mixel set, there was like a Gears type Mixel set. We're on Series 9 now. I have the Pirates, by the way. Those are the first ones I got. Those are pretty cool. That's a pirate theme Mixel set. They're on Series 9 now, and I think they're running out of ideas because they're currently on tongue-based Mixels. They're just the 3 Mixels that have really long tongues, and that's like their defining characteristic.
Interesting.
You guys, what?
Interesting.
They're cool looking. This guy's little head spins around, which is neat. He's the dog. He has a long tongue, but it's sort of like, are we really out of ideas? Are we really just like, I know, tongues. Let's throw tongues at him. Oh, they've never seen tongue Mixels before.
To be fair, kids love that sort of thing. Like my nephew got a Slimer thing with a giant stretchable tongue, and that was his favorite Christmas present.
That's fair. I'm not knocking it. It's a cool little toy. I really enjoy putting those together. And the other thing that they do is once you've like built all 3, if you have the 3 in a set, they sell them separately. I wouldn't spend more than $5 a piece for them, but they do sell for higher than that, but I would look for them in your stores for around $5 a pack. Once you have all 3 in the set, you can put them together into a Maxel. And so it's one big animal that, again, in this case, will have a giant tongue as its defining characteristic.
This podcast sponsored by Mixels.
I just really enjoy those. And I got some other stuff. I got a meat grinder, which I've been wanting, like a motorized meat grinder.
Yeah, I
That's
remember
pretty
you
cool.
had like the hand crank one.
There's like a whole story there. I did want to say though, for Christmas, I had a little bit of a funny story. Again, this is something else I was going to talk about last week, but ran out of time. I took my little boy AJ to go and but there was a Polar Express experience in our town. Have you ever heard of anything like this, Tony?
I have not.
You're familiar with the Polar Express, though, right? It's a book, and then they turned it into a movie, and the movie was weird.
Yeah, like it was a Tom Hanks thing.
Yes, the book is really good. The movie is. There's like one line in the book about how the train like felt like it was going over a roller coaster going to the North Pole, and they took that and made it like 45 minutes of the movie.
I remember the kids book. Like the librarian at my school used to read it.
But they had this thing down at the local train depot. We have a train museum that has like full-size train cars that you can get in and look around like the old-timey style. There's an old dining car that you can go to there that sometimes they have like a little restaurant set up in. For this, they had set it up as the Polar Express experience. So we get there. There was like quite a while to wait, which is a whole different complaint that I won't get into. But, eventually they get us ready. We go and get ready to go out on the platform. And they play like sound of a train pulling in and like blow smoke everywhere to sort of make it look like the train is blowing steam out. And AJ freaks out. He doesn't like have a meltdown, but he's like plugs his ears and sort of like he doesn't like loud noises. And they finish it up. The sound dies away, and they open the door like, all right, we're gonna go out to the Polar Express. And the whole time we're walking down the platform to the train, he's like, they played train music on the radio, Daddy. They played that train sound on the radio. I felt like I've raised like the most cynical 4-year-old in existence, that he was just like, I know how they did that. That wasn't real smoke. That was a smoke machine, Dad. They played that train sound on the radio.
Already figuring it all out.
Yeah, he was very much like unimpressed. And then we get in the train, and I think they played a little bit more music, and they read the story, which I don't want to complain too much, but I spent like $15 to take my kid to this thing, and it was advertised as you would have hot chocolate and cookies. They didn't give the adults hot chocolate and cookies, which is bogus. Okay, I spent $15 to get on your non-moving train and have them play train sounds at my kid, who is not fooled at 4 years old, and then you're not gonna serve me hot chocolate and cookies. That's some bullshit. That's not cool. It is.
I think it's funny.
Anyway, then he went and saw Santa and, got off the train and did the bell thing. And I tell him Santa's not real because that's the kind of parent I am. I guess I'm angling to raise a cynical 4-year-old.
Yeah, where's
he
the
argues with
whimsy?
me, though. He's like, no, he is real. He's real. I was like, I'm sure that's what your people are telling you, but...
Well, like you never
You're
want...
welcome to believe what you want to believe, but I'm telling you what I believe.
You never want your kid to be the first one to, like, realize Santa's not real, because that kid's an asshole, and you never want them to be the last one, because that means your kid's a moron. So, you gotta walk...
Well, mine's gonna be the a-hole, I guess, because he's...
he's only a jerk if he, like, starts revealing it to other kids. Just like waits until like some kid's making fun of him, and then he's like, "Well, you know what? Santa's not real." And then just like that kid has a meltdown and cries, and your kid just towers over them.
I can't imagine he would do it like that. He would just like some kid would be talking about Santa. Is like, Santa's not real. What are you talking about? He'd be that kind of jerk.
I find it funny that I've been like waiting for a chance for like 5 minutes to talk about like what I got. So, like, there's just going to be this video while you're talking about, like, train stuff where I'm holding a gun.
Last week you had the knife out, you're escalating to a gun?
Oh, it was my Christmas present. High point 40 cal. So, yeah.
Is it a hand grenade?
Yes,
gun?
it is a handgun. It's my first handgun.
Oh, cool.
Like, I always prefer long rifles, like, especially shotguns. I always find them a lot more fun and satisfying to shoot. But my dad's like, you need something that's faster to defend yourself with because your shotgun's at the foot of the bed. not like in your nightstand, ready and loaded. It's like, I'm not that worried about people breaking into my house, but I will
Yeah,
take it.
you're like your incredible apartment.
Yes,
It's not
it's
not that appealing to
in one of the
burglars.
least like crime-ridden parts of the country, like in my apartment, where they could just go a few blocks over to like $500,000 houses. Like they're totally going to target me. But I mean, I do have a concealed carry permit, but I never had a gun to conceal, so who knows? We'll figure it out.
Well, I think with the threat of gun violence, that will do it for our show today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Is it in the new year yet, Tony?
I'm thinking
them?
this comes out 2 days before that. Yeah, it comes out
You're
on the
probably right.
29th. New Year is on Sunday.
Yeah, of course it is, because Christmas was on Sunday. I'm stupid. But anyway, you guys are getting over 2016. I gotta tell you, I've been, like, in my head for some reason the whole year. I've just been thinking, it's 2017. And I keep, like, getting jarred back when things are happening in 2016. Very weird. But I can tell you, 2017, as I've experienced it, is way better than 2016. So you got that to look forward to. Do you want to do the spiel, Tony?
Yes. So if you feel fully invigorated and ready for the new year and want to see Human Echoes grow into the new year, become a member. Members get to listen to the bonus podcast, which is our favorite product to make. It's an amazing time. We spend it with Joe, Al, and I. We talk about weird, fun things, and it's a great, great podcast. It's just like every 2 weeks we get to make it, and it's amazing. You also get awesome stuff like the Krampus letters that have been going out. If you check out our Twitter or Facebook account, you've probably seen those.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, that was an awesome little project, and it like we always feel bad for the abuse we put the robot intern through, but they do pretty good work. So if you like things like that, if you like shirts, postcards, buttons, all sorts of things in that same realm, become a member by going to humanechoes.com, clicking the Become a Member link up at the top or on the right-hand side, and signing up for $2, $5, $10, or $20 a month. It's like Patreon, but we do it in-house. It's all, yeah, it's the very best way to support us. So thank you all very much for being members. Thank you for all the shares, the likes, the conversations on Twitter. It's been a great year for us. We've grown a lot. We've gotten a lot done, and we hope to keep going into the new year with that momentum. So thank you very much. I wish you guys the best 2017.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.